My name is Ernesto. I was born in 1928 in a small barrio in Ilocos Norte, in the northern part of the Philippines, where the wind comes off the South China Sea and the rice fields stretch so far you think God forgot to put a wall at the end of the world. I am 96 years old. I have buried a wife, 2 brothers, a sister, and more friends than I can count on both hands twice over. I have watched 3 generations of my family grow up, make mistakes, and grow again. I have lived under Japanese occupation, under martial law, under poverty that would make your heart crack like dry soil in the summer heat. And I am still here, still breathing, still talking. My grandchildren ask me why I am not afraid of anything anymore, and I tell them the same thing every time. When you have already lost everything and built it back with your bare hands, not once, not twice, but 3 times in one lifetime, fear becomes a very small, very quiet, very unimportant thing. In the Philippines, we have a word, Malasakit. It means to care deeply, to feel responsible for the people around you, to carry their burden as if it were your own. It is the reason a Filipino mother will go without eating so her child can eat. It is the reason a Filipino father will work until his hands bleed and never say a word of complaint, because complaint in our culture is a luxury we cannot afford. I raised 6 children on that principle. 6. In a house with 2 rooms and 1 electric fan that only worked when it felt like it. I worked in the fields. I worked at the harbor. I washed other men's cars. And I never, not one single time, told my children that life was hard, because I did not want them to see hardship as a reason to stop. I wanted them to see work the way I saw it, as a privilege, as proof that you are still alive, as the most honest thing a man can offer to the people he loves. Nobody is coming to save you. That truth, in Filipino, sounds exactly the same as it does in English. I came to America at 62 years old. 62. Most men my age were sitting on the porch watching the sun go down. I was on an airplane for the first time in my life, holding a plastic bag with 3 changes of clothes and a photograph of my wife Corazon, who had passed 2 years before I left. My daughter Marilu had sponsored me. She said, "Papa, come, start over." And I thought, start over? At 62? But I looked at that photograph of Corazon, and I remembered what she used to say to me every morning when times were very bad. "Ernie, ang buhay ay hindi para sa mga taong natatakot. Life is not for the fearful." So I came. I arrived in California on a Tuesday in November. It was cold in a way I had never felt before. And I stood outside that airport with my plastic bag and I laughed. A real laugh. Because I had been cold before and hungry before and alone before, and I was still standing. Starting over is just another word for still being alive. Now let me tell you something about discipline, because my children, when they were young, used to think I was too strict, too serious, too focused on work and responsibility. They were not wrong. I was strict. In the Filipino tradition, the father is the pillar, not the wall. The wall keeps things out. The pillar holds things up, and to be a pillar you cannot be soft in the wrong moments. I made my children wake up early. I made them help in the house, help in the fields, help the neighbors when neighbors needed it. I made them understand that utang na loob, the debt of gratitude, is not a burden, it is a bond. It is what separates a person from an animal. And years later, when my children had their own children, they called me, not to complain, to thank me. One by one they called. My son Benjamin said, "Papa, I understand now. That phone call was worth more than any amount of money I ever earned. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is the most loving thing you can give a child who is too young to understand why. But I will be honest with you, because at 96 years old, honesty is the only thing I have left that costs me nothing. I was not a perfect father. I was absent in the ways that only a man carrying too much weight can be absent. I missed things. In the Philippines, I missed school plays and birthdays because I was working 3 jobs and sleeping 4 hours a night. In America, I missed dinners because I was exhausted in the bone-deep way that only old men who came to a new country late in life understand. And 2 of my children, my youngest daughter Luz and my son Ramon, they pulled away from me. Slowly at first, then all at once. The calls stopped, the visits stopped, and I did what I am ashamed to say I did. I chased. I called every week. I sent letters. I asked the other children to speak to them for me. And every time I felt myself becoming smaller, becoming less, becoming a man who was begging for what he had already given freely for 60 years. That is not Malasakit. That is desperation wearing Malasakit's clothes. So I stopped chasing. And I will tell you, in the Filipino culture, this is not easy, because we are taught that family is everything. Familia is not just a word, it is a religion. To let a child go, even an adult child who has chosen distance, feels like a betrayal of everything you were raised to be. But a very old Ilocano woman in my church, she was 93, she had buried 2 husbands and outlived 4 of her 7 children. She took my hand one afternoon after Mass, and she said to me, "Ernie, you cannot force love back into a house that has chosen to leave its door closed. But you can make your own house so warm, so full of light, that one day, standing in the cold, they will remember where the warmth came from." I went home that afternoon and I planted a garden, literally, tomatoes and bitter melon and peche in the backyard, and I filled my days until my days were full. 6 months later, Ramon called. He did not apologize. He did not explain. He just said, "Papa, can I come visit?" And I said, "The door is open." It was always open. I want to talk about the body now, because mine has been trying to retire for at least 15 years, and I keep refusing to let it. At 96, I have had 2 knee replacements, 1 heart procedure, a battle with pneumonia that my doctor said I should not have won, and arthritis in both hands so stubborn it would embarrass a mule. But I wake up every morning, I make my own breakfast, I walk to the end of the block and back. My grandchildren think this is remarkable. I think this is simply stubbornness dressed up as inspiration. But here is what I know about the body. From 96 years of living inside one, it tells you the truth, even when you are not listening. When you are young, you treat it like a machine. You push it, ignore it, feed it badly, sleep too little, and expect it to keep running. In the Philippines, we used to say, the body is like a Carabao, the water buffalo. It will carry extraordinary loads without complaint. But even the strongest Carabao, if you never let it rest, if you never feed it properly, will one day simply stop. Treat your body now while it still has the capacity to be grateful. And now, the hardest part, the part my grandchildren do not want to hear, but that I believe is the most important thing an old man can offer to the young. I am going to die. Not today, at least. I do not think so, though at 96, one learns never to make promises about tomorrow. But soon, in the way that a candle that has been burning since 1928 must eventually gracefully, without drama, go out, and I am not afraid. I want you to hear that clearly. I am not afraid. In my Catholic faith, we believe in what comes after. But even beyond faith, I have lived so fully, so completely, so without reservation. I have loved and lost and built and broken and laughed and cried and started over more times than I can remember. That death feels less like an ending and more like the moment at the end of a very long journey, when you finally take off your shoes and your feet, which have been hurting for longer than you even realized, finally rest. What I am afraid of, what keeps me awake in the rare nights when my old mind refuses to be quiet, is not dying. It is the thought of having lived without fully opening my eyes. I have seen men younger than my youngest child die without ever having told their wife they loved her. I have seen women spend 40 years swallowing words they needed to say, and then lie in their last bed with those words still trapped, rotting quietly behind a smile kept too long for too many wrong reasons. Do not do that. Say the thing. Book the trip. Forgive the person, not for their sake, but for the sake of the weight you are carrying that was never yours to carry for this long. In Ilocano we say, "Saan ga agpanuray." Do not procrastinate. Do not leave things for later. Later is the most expensive word in any language. I have watched people spend their whole lives paying the debt of later, and the interest is merciless. Your time is now, not tomorrow. Now. So here is what 96 years in this body, in this life, across 2 countries and 3 generations has taught me. Stop chasing the people who are walking away, not because they don't matter, but because you matter too. And dignity is not something you can afford to leave on the floor for someone else to step on. Take full responsibility for your life the way a Filipino farmer takes responsibility for his field. You cannot control the rain, but you can control whether you show up to tend the soil. Take care of your body before it stops being patient with you. Say every word you are saving for later. Forgive completely, without conditions, without a receipt. And when death eventually comes for you, as it came for Corazon, as it will one day come for me, let it find you empty. Empty of grudges, empty of regrets, empty of all the love you have been too afraid to give away. Let it find you used up, wrung out, and absolutely gloriously spent. That is not tragedy, that is a life. That is the whole entire beautiful point.